Hello everyone, welcome back to the lab. So today is the second episode of everything about anti-HandTraps and featuring triple tactics talent as how I call it 3T. Uh, Months ago, when the card was first released in OCG, I posted like a small sort of Facebook article about it, about my like first impression on it. And in TCG, this card has been about a month and a half old already, and it's actually being played quite a lot. By the time this video is recorded, it's around like mid September 2020, and we actually just got a new TCG ban list. And so technically, the last format before the ban list, this card was actually being played quite a lot in the format as a defensive strategy of anti-hint traps, mainly against some like being played in quite a lot of decks in the format. And in today's episode, I will be explaining or mainly talk about this specific card, how it was interacting with a lot of things, how it was like get compared to a lot of things, and when it's good, how it's good, and why it's good. So without further ado, let's start. Uh, Before I really dive into this one card, like the detail for this specific card, I want to say, I want to tell everyone a way of me usually thinking about cards. For example, there's Darko and Raigeki, and when I was deck building, I will usually think about if I have choices for some cards I can have, they doing like similar things, fulfilling the similar purposes. I'll usually think what are the similarities and what are the differences that could happen in like different kind of situations. Like a lot of people, well, but everyone should know their facts. Darko destroy every monster on the board. Raigeki only destroy opponent's monster. So majority of the time, Raigeki seems much better than Darko, right? Because it not killing your own monsters. But under what kind of situations in like what kind of specific decks? Well, Dark will be better. For example, if you have a baby Cersaurus, this is one of the dinosaur key card and says when this card it only triggers when it's destroyed by card effect. And if you somehow just open no ways to trigger it, Darko actually can do the job because it does destroy your own monster. Where Raigeki just straight doesn't do it because Raigeki really doesn't kill it, right? Doesn't trigger the effect. So in this kind of situation, it seems like Dark Hole is actually better than Raigeki because not only you can play it, um, you can also use it to turn on your engine in those extreme weird opening hands. So that's something. But overall, everyone probably will still say Raigeki is still better, right? Because, for example, like when they're the same, such as when you open with no monsters, like turn 2, you have nothing. If you activate either Raigeki or Dark Hole, and your opponent try to respond on some monster if I trying to negate it, you can change your gamma to keep to prevent their interruption on these and force and that way to make your Dark Hole Raigeki resolving. However, if it's a situation of Dark Hole, your gamma that you summon by its own effect will also get destroyed, so you leave with no monster still. But if it's the situation of Raigeki, Gamma and Driver will stay on the board, and at that point, this is either a free level 8 synchro or a Link 2, which is very, like, could just change the game, like, causing, like, a wing or lot, because that's a needle fiber, worst case, right? But you also have to think, under what kind of situation they both kind of useless at the same way. For example, if you're facing Red Eyes Dragoon, monsters like this that cannot be destroyed by card effects. In those kind of situations, both Raigeki and Dark Hole are just feel very, very trash. It really doesn't do anything. At that point, you'll have to think about what's the other similar cards that serve similar jobs, such as like Kaiju or Dark Cooler. Kaiju can just straight get rid of the Dragoon, and Dark Cooler can negate it without targeting it and at the same time maybe able to negate what else or with Dragoon at the same time. So yeah, these are usually the ideas I think. Like I have to think about all different kind of situations whenever I have to like choose a card specifically for maybe like 3 spots in my side or even in the main deck. And then after we like talk about Dragoon, what if there's like a different situation? If instead of there being a Dragoon on my opponent's board, there is a Zoo Dryden on my opponent's board instead. In this kind of situation, Gamma Sail and Dark Ruler are just like slightly worse than these. Because yes, you still do get rid of the Dryden or negate the Dryden, but the 20 to attack from Gamma Sail could just be annoying to kill. Or if your opponent has like more traps to back up with the Dryden, you might fail to beat over the Dryden with attack after you negate it. So after you pass the turn, the Dryden become alive again. So therefore, in those kind of formats, in those kind of situations, Dark and Raikiki probably be better because it just no matter what happens, should get rid of the Dryden. It's very complicated as to really like talk about it in general. But if you dive into specific formats, there's always like ideal answers, or at least like you get a comparison of everything. So yeah, this is the way I like to think, and I actually use this kind of logic of thinking when I'm like evaluating 3T earlier in the format. So let's go more detail on 3T. It has three different effects. Let's just break it one by one. Start with draw two. Uh, this card, like, think about it. What other cards really draw two in a format, right? One of the card was Desires. Part of Desire is a very risky and rewarding card. It says banish the top 10, draw two. So it does fulfill the draw two part. And decks such as like Salamangreat is able to utilize it very well in the format. However, there's still difference between these two. For example, if you in both situations where you do resolve both and draw two, the cards you draw could causing different impact in like at different point. If you draw like Well, it's probably the same because Well always gets you a Salam monster. And but if you draw like Debug, in the situation where if it's Desire, you might be able to start with Desire and draw into the debug. Now the like your line of plays is significantly better. But if you like do something already, then you got 3T, then you use 3T effect to draw two, you draw into the debug, you probably already used your normal summons, and at that point drawing debug is just really not that great. So in Salamangreat, you'll probably see more Desires than 3Ts because Desire has like more effective cards you can draw into in the deck. And also, but at the same time, it's not it's not limiting you to play like either or. You have the choice to play both. So do you really have that many spaces? That's just another thing you have to think about when you deck building. Also, that when we were also just assuming it has resolved already, because Desire has no requirement to really activate. The only really requirement is you have more than 12 cards left, right? But that's usually not really an issue. 3T has a big weakness where it doesn't really respond to imperm, and so that's like a big thing if you are focusing like this kind of situation where 3T could be dead, but Desire's always alive. So that's a thing. And the next draw cards that says draw two, that's relatively easier accessible, is Spellbook Knowledge. This is a card not really being played yet, but it could be in like some Alistair like Invoke variant decks where there's a new Link 1. It's one of the Magus card that's coming in Genesis Impact in like few months as this video is being recorded. It's a Link 1 require level 4 lower spellcaster. So what we can do is normal Alistair. Also, it's a light. That's the most important part. You can normal Alistair and link into this one. Then you use Knowledge to send this one to graveyard, draw two, and resolve invocation, banish both summon Macabre. So it's essentially an Elmirage, but it supports Spellbook of Knowledge. However, now we kind of compare with Knowledge and 3T, right? Your Alistair is always a fragile card where it could be stopped by almost any hand trap, trying to prevent you getting access to the invocation. Knowledge, both Knowledge and 3T serve the purpose of being like a way for you to have a chance to draw into an invocation after your Alistair being stopped. However, these are like if you draw invocation, that's good. That these are the similarity here, but there's still some difference. If you 3T, you are available for like dogmatic cards because your Alistair will still be on the field. You can go into your Elmirage, then still special summon your Ecclesia to turn all your Dogmatica plays. However, if it's the situation of knowledge, the Astral will be gone, or you link into that Link 1 will be gone. At that point, even you draw into Dogmatica cards, you won't be able to have an extra that monster on the field to play these. Unless you do draw the invocation, so you have a Macabre no matter what happens, right? So these are also just like things where you have to think. If, for example, if you're playing the Alistair, the Invoke version of the deck. So yeah, this is some other. It's just like you have to put yourself into this kind of way of thinking when you are choosing cards or you're deck building. Let's just skip the second effect where you take a monster, because that's like sort of kind of going, can also involving some going second already. We are now still focusing more, like slightly more on going first. Just diving to the third effect. The third effect says look at your opponent's hand and shuffle a card back to the deck. A lot of people compare this with Appointed Red Lotus. It's actually a very popular side card that's being played quite a lot in the past, half year, I would say. Um, these two has a similarity where when they resolve, you always get to check a card over there, and a pointer banish it until the end phase, and 3T just shuffle it back completely. And yeah, for sure, your opponent won't have access to one specific card in their hand for at least a turn, if not forever. However, there's still obviously differences. A pointer being a trap is like the biggest difference. It's always alive, like if you set it for a turn, as long as you have a card in hand. But it's always slow, like a turn late, because sometimes could be even that. 3T on the other hand, it's a spell. It could be dead sometimes if your opponent like either threw the hand trap as an end perm, or your opponent just completely don't even use any hand trap. At that point, 3T is a dead card. But there are some things where only 3T able to do, but pointer doesn't. For example, you got like your first hand trap, throwing out your combo, and after that you can activate 3T, check their hand to see if they have another Nibiru with it. For example, like the second hand trap, pretty much. And if you do, you can maybe rip this away and continue combo, or if you cannot continue combo, you just rip one of their starter cards. At that point, it's probably the same as the pointer. So yeah, this is some like cool idea where you can feel the similarity and the differences when you resolve like two of the similar cards, and you really have to think: should you be siding 3T or or Red Lotus, or maybe even both, or what kind of number you want? It's a very interesting thing to figure out. Then let's go back to the second effect where you take a monster from your opponent. When you go first, it's not really happening because your opponent won't have a monster majority of the time unless they gamma you. Gamma is a very interesting card because it doesn't go to the graveyard like majority of other hand trap. That's why it's also good, because it's hard to be negated. A typical play is you play into the gamma because you can't really prevent it. After that, you use your 3T to take the gamma. Since gamma itself is a tuner, now you're available for any Hockey Fibrix plays, thanks to this gamma. That's why like there are a lot of people still putting 3T in the main deck, even though when they're going first, and even resolving the like kind of the mind control effect. Now since mentioned mind control, let's dive into a little bit more about going second when you're resolving this to take control effect. It's similar to mind control. It does take a monster. However, mind control do have like, even it has so many restrictions, it's still good enough to be limited because it's always active. The side effect says you cannot attack with the monster, you cannot tribute it. So sometimes it can, like, for example, even you mind control a Pancratops, you can't even activate its effect to tribute yourself because the monster you take from mind control cannot even be tributed. But 3T doesn't. 3T, whatever you take from 3T is always alive. It has all its effect. It can be used as any materials. It can even attack. Yeah, it can pretty much do anything. It's just your monster for the turn. And a common strategy being used is against Red Eye Dark Dragoon, because Dragoon says cannot be targeted, so Mind Control doesn't even work on Dragoon. However, in the case of 3T, you can always like force out the Dragoon or bait the Dragoon with for them to use the effect. Then take the Dragoon away from your opponent. Use Dragoon's one of the other effects says pop monsters your opponent controls and burn them for damage. After that, also because Dragoon also has negated, it's at 4K. You can also attack. Maybe that's just enough for game, which is a very cool strategy that people are using. 3T specifically countering Dragoon going second. So yeah, this is like the part where you take monster from your opponent, the mind control effect. Then overall, we probably missed a little bit of something. Remember, I was only talking about when 3T has already resolved. But what if it doesn't resolve? Under what kind of situation will really resolving, right? Uh, the card text says your opponent has to activate a monster fight in that main phase. That actually just make the card. It's a very that make the 3T as a very reactive card. There's like very few reactive card existing in the game. One example, like from the history, is Starlight Road. Whenever your opponent activates any card that destroys 2 or more cards on the field, you can activate it. Negate and destroy it, then spend some of Stardust, which was being played like years ago when Heavy Storm was a thing, and sometimes I like a few in like Zoo format where like Mirror Force is a thing. However, other cards are like pure reactive cards, or usually just like the old ancient cards from the history, like White Hole and Griffin Wind, that no one really care about. So now we get to some reactive cards. Let's talk about why you want these kind of reactive cards, right? You want to have something to deal with situations you're normally not able to deal, or is very like critical to whatever you're doing, either your combo or a setup. Therefore, that people like use this card as a card to anti-HandTrap. Now, of course, we're gonna compare cards that does kind of anti-HandTrap at the same time, so we can compare with these. Crossout is one of the best cards. One of the best cards serves the purpose of anti-HandTraps. However, Crossout unfortunately has not released in TCG by the time this video is being recorded, so it's not really available for everyone in the TCG to really have and experience this card. Call by is another good one. The pros is like call by is so like available. Worst case, it's even like a DD card kind of banish a card in your opponent's graveyard in their turn. It can even serve as an interruption. The downside is like call by only react to whatever hand trap that sends to graveyard. Where 3Ts, as long as it's not impermanent, react to it for sure. And the biggest downside is, by the time this video is recording, Konami like just released the ban list a week prior to it and put call by at 1. So now really like before this, like you're comparing with like 3 call by and 3T, thinking what kind of hand trap in the format really fits either one better. But now it's like there's only 1 call by, so it's not even able to be a comparison. The chance of you opening a 3 off in your deck, I think it's about like 33, 34, 1/3. The chance of you opening 1 off over in a 40 card deck is about, I think, 12.5, so 1/8. This is like more than 20% difference if you just like play 1 copy compared to the 3 copies. So now you can't really even compare the call by with 3T thinking which one I want to play. You maybe just have to be like, oh, I kind of have to play all the 3Ts, and in addition to that, do I want to play the 1 call by or not, right? Strike is another one in like format where it was like slower before. Some people will treat Strike as a card where you set for a turn, next turn when you do things, Strike able to stop your opponent hand trap that's throwing on you. However, Strike ultimately still being a trap. It's slow, and because the format is so fast, now Strike is almost no longer serving the purpose of really defending yourself on the hand trap. It's always used as an interruption now to like stop your opponent playing more, because otherwise you'll be dead anyways. No next turn for you. Yeah, so these are the like kind of similar card you can really think. Um, you can really think to compare the 3T, which I did like think about everything while I was building deck with it. Then let's just also talk about what kind of interruption you will see in this current format, because like that actually matters. Because 3T is a card that like heavily react to what's being played right now, right? First of all, imperm. Unfortunately, 3T doesn't do anything to imperm. It only responds to monster if this is a trap. And there's not even that many cards that does respond to Imperm. Reboot and Midbreaker are the very few ones, just because Reboot negate the trap and Midbreaker prevent it, but also because these are so good in the format. That's why they are like limited, probably forever. I really want these cards back, but unfortunately, you just can't because it's so good. And the other hand trap is like Nibiru. Nibiru is it's always like a very controversial trap because it's so scary. If you just absolutely don't care, you will get punished so hard if it's resolving. So all the combos, such as Adamantipator last format and other decks that can utilize like negates, they abuse the weakness of Nibiru where it only respawn after the fifth summon. Therefore, they put out a negate within or on the fifth summon. For example, Adamantipator using Quackmere Guardian, Dragon Link use like Appaloosa, and other like Outlet version or other combo decks use like Arclight or Savage to deal with it. So this like Nibiru become a chain trap where if you just absolutely don't care, it's one of the best. If you care the most, it could just be unplayable because they got care so much. Another way to really think about it is O-line is technically another a way because last format in those like those Eldritch version, the Eldritch Needle Fiber combo decks, where you just trying to put yourself into a situation where you have a backup plan after you kind of force out the Nibiru. And in those kind of situation, like for example, O-line will be able to still generate another token after it got Nibiru'd, after you brought it back from Marcher. So you still have enough monster to go into like, for example, Orodon and set up your negates. And that's a way. And just because that's able to do those kind of things and make Nibiru like relatively worse. But if Nibiru resolve in the situation in like a game state where you are not expected or you couldn't really defend, it usually still costs the biggest damage. And now we kind of talk about Nibiru. And what about 3T reacting to Nibiru? Is it good? Is it bad? It's really hard to say. It's something like you always have to think about how to play around because Nibiru is just so scary. And using 3T against it, it's weird. Because when Nibiru has already resolved, you probably don't have anything left, right? And resolving either of the 3T effects doesn't really do anything. You have a token. If you take the Nibiru, you still have just a 2 monster that has like weird stats and doesn't really accomplish anything. If you draw 2, you have to draw like very good, drawing to your extenders. And if you kind of decide to look at your opponent's hand and rip something, at that point you pretty much just say, I give a combo in this turn. So is it really worth at that point? Depends. It still depends on the deck. But Nibiru, 3T as an answer to Nibiru is still not that good because if you can, you still prefer to use your combos in the deck to force the Nibiru to play after being Nibiru'd. By the time this video recorded, Rip O-line, he's banned. But these are just like what happened in the relatively like last week or before in the format. So I think the logic of Nibiru and 3T still existing, still relatively applied to the current format. And by the time format still hasn't really settled, we just have to see what other like the new decks able to like do things to against Nibiru. So yeah, this is 2 of the very common hand traps. The rest is like a type of hand trap, I will specifically say. Those kind of floodgates? Well, not really floodgates. Or those like lingering hand traps that resolve for the rest of the whole turn. And Maxi is not available in TCG because it's still banned. But it was a thing like very popular as a 3 in OCG and is actually the biggest opponent of every combo decks. Draw is kind of the replacement of replacement Maxi in TCG whenever it's being able to be played. Shifter only works in very few decks, and Lancia only works against very few decks. However, think about it. If either of these 4 has resolved, is your 3T really matters here? Because no matter which effect you're choosing, these effects, which they should just hurt you, you can like turn these effects off. So is 3T really good against these? Probably not, right? For example, you play a combo deck. You got Maxi already. doesn't matter which effect of 3T you're using, you still kind of forced to end your combo because you can't really commit into it. Like your best player is probably look at your opponent's hand and rip something they have, so you really simplify the game state. Hope they don't combo. But at the same time, it's like that's not like your primary strategy for if you are playing a super heavy combo deck. You should find a way to like counter Maxi or put more cards such as like Crossout or Call By to really stop the Maxi. Even just playing more copies of Draw, it's maybe even better in terms of against Maxi compared to like Triple T, right? And for the rest of Hand Trap, like if draw has resolved, you can't even use the draw 2 effect from the 3T. And they don't have a monster, so you're kind of forced to really check their hand. Otherwise, 3T is just a complete deck card in your hand. Shifter and the Lancier are similar. That's like your monster will either get all banished, or for example, Orcus, nothing can be banished, nothing can be activated. No, 3T just doesn't seem good. So 3T overall is like not really good against these kind of lingering hand trap where their effects apply for the whole turn, and as long as they have already applied, it's not really good to you, and you rather just prevent these happening instead of really find a way to answer it afterwards. And the last hand trap, which everyone's probably been waiting for, is Gamma. This is one of the best hand traps in the current or both current and the past TCG format, where why it's hard to respond to it. There's very few things that able to. One of those few things is Mythbreaker, because Mythbreaker will prevent your monster being destroyed, but Gamma will still be able to negate the effect no matter what happens. And I mean, obviously the risk is very high. You have to play the driver. You can draw the driver, and that just complete a deck card in your hand, right? And 3T was actually very good against Gamma, since the other factor where we don't have, like the TCG, don't have Crossout yet. Therefore, Crossout is obviously an answer to almost everything, but just not available to us. Therefore, what's the best answer after Crossout? It's 3T in TCG. Call By doesn't react to it. 3T can only take the Gamma, like I mentioned earlier. You can still just draw 2 because then hope you draw some extenders. Or if you just say you really can combo afterwards, you check their hand. So all 3 effects are available after being Gamma. And since Gamma is being played so popularly, it's very good as like having 3T as an out to it, or as an answer, not really an out to it, or just a backup plan. Like in the last format, Dinosaur was a very like decent deck in the format because not only miscellaneous prevent all your dinosaur monster unaffected by card effects, period. Last War also give your opponent a token to make sure you won't get Gamma, because Gamma requires you have no monsters. So that's why Dinosaur was doing relatively well. And if you're playing Dinosaur already, you probably don't even have to worry about being Gamma. Therefore, you just don't even need to have 3T because you're already kind of preventing it, right? However, for other decks, such as like Emancipator from last format, Infernoble and Dragonlink, especially Dragonlink, where Dragonlink can't even play Mythbreaker because they rely on resolving their field spell to do things. Gamma does hurt them more, and 3T is being used as an answer to it. So yeah, this is like how and why 3T was good in the last format, and by the time you watch the video, the format could just change quite a lot, and who knows what's gonna happen, right? The logic probably still gonna apply. It really should, because as long as like there are no drastic change in the ban list, the format should still relatively the same in terms of Gamma being used in the format. So the conclusion is really, why is 3T good? It's probably only good now, and with the following reasons. One, Crossout hasn't been legal in the format in TCG, so therefore you don't have an answer to Gamma, and because of that, Gamma was the best like hand trap, and made 3T one of the best answers to it, since the true best answer wasn't even legal. Mythbreaker is limited, unlike OCG there's 3, so you don't have that many, like you don't have another better answer to against Gammas. Maxi being banned, therefore 3T doesn't really have a blind spot if it's being used in the format. And what else? Call by just got limited. Therefore, call by just got limited. Therefore, you really don't have enough more copies to really use it. And Dragoon still being legal in the format where not many other cards able to deal with it. Therefore, uh, therefore 3T just automatically become a good answer to it while Dragoon is still legal. Because by the time this video is being recorded, Dragoon just got banned in OCG. That's how TCG probably gonna go eventually. But by this point, these are the reasons why 3T is good right now, and it'll keep being amazing until any of those factors change. If you watch the video later in the future, you probably have to reevaluate almost everything around this car, just like how I did. Think about what kind of situation will be good, what kind of situation will be bad, what kind of situation it's like good, similar to another car that you have to compare those two. What kind of situation it's like bad with another car that you think about those two, and what kind of situation is just absolutely unique and cannot be replaced by any other cards in the game. That's another thing. So yeah, this is just a way of me really explaining this 3T card. Obviously, I probably have not really covered everything, but if you like this, like really dissect in my brain and tell everyone how my process goes, uh, feel free to comment down in the comment section. Tell me how you really react to this like sort of kind of messy video, messy episode. And if you like lab report such as this, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, following my Twitch, and join the Discord. And I will try to bring out more interesting episodes about whatever thing related to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh to everyone who's supporting me and my channel. So yeah, so I guess that's it for today's episode. I will see everyone in the lab in the future. See ya.